Your brain doesn't just make decisions. It grades its own homework, and it grades generously. Today we're breaking down 5 ways your mind quietly inflates its own confidence, its own first impressions, and even the size of the bag of chips in front of you. Once you see the grading curve, you can't unsee it. Ask a room full of drivers to rate themselves against average, and something strange happens every time. Most of them say they are above average. Not slightly above, comfortably above. Mathematically, that can't be true for most of the room. Someone's arithmetic is off, and it isn't the group's. This is the overconfidence effect. Your subjective certainty about a skill or a belief runs consistently higher than your actual accuracy. It's not arrogance exactly. It's a built-in gap between how sure you feel and how right you are. The gap exists because checking your own work is expensive, and your brain would rather move fast. Confidence feels like a finished, useful signal. Actually verifying it feels like homework. So the shortcut wins, and the feeling of certainty gets treated as proof when it was never proof at all. Next time you're dead sure about something you haven't actually checked, that certainty is worth a second look. It might be earned. It might just be your brain skipping the audit. And that same shortcut-loving brain has an even stranger blind spot around time and money. You're offered $20 today or $30 in a month. Most people grab the 20. Now flip it, $20 in a year or $30 in a year and a month. Suddenly almost everyone waits for the 30. Same 1-month gap, completely different answer. This is hyperbolic discounting. The value of a future reward drops off steeply the moment later means right now, but that same gap barely matters once both options are pushed into the distance. Your brain isn't discounting time evenly. It's overweighting the present by a huge amount. That's why I'll start Monday always sounds reasonable, and start right now always sounds like a sacrifice, even when the actual task is identical. The only thing that changed is how close the effort is to this exact moment. Distance makes the exact same cost feel smaller. Knowing the trick doesn't remove it, but it explains why willpower alone keeps losing to a deadline that isn't today yet. And your brain plays a similar rigged game with people, not just rewards, the very first time you meet them. Someone shows up 15 minutes late to meet you. Before they've said a word, you've already decided they're disorganized, maybe a little disrespectful of your time. Then they mention they were pulling a coworker's shift for free. Your first read doesn't update, it just gets an asterisk. This is the horn effect. One negative trait quietly contaminates your judgment of everything else about a person, the mirror opposite of giving someone a halo for one good trait. A single flaw gets treated like a preview of their whole character. It happens fast and it happens outside your awareness, which is exactly why it's dangerous. A bad first handshake can shade a performance review. A rough first date can end something that had 4 good ones left in it. The flaw isn't lying. It's just being asked to speak for everything else. Once you know the horn effect exists, you can catch yourself mid-judgment and ask what you'd think if you'd met this person on a different day. And first impressions don't just color people, they color the very first fact you learn about anything. You're handed a list of 10 traits about a stranger: smart, hardworking, impulsive, stubborn, and so on, in that exact order. Now imagine the same 10 words, same person, but reversed: stubborn and impulsive listed first. Your overall impression shifts, even though every single word on the list is identical. This is the primacy effect. Information presented first carries disproportionate weight in forming your overall judgment, because it sets the frame everything after has to fit into. The first data point isn't just data, it becomes the lens for every data point that follows. It's why the opening line of a resume, the first slide of a pitch, the first 10 seconds of this very video, do more work than their word count deserves. Your brain built a working theory in the first few seconds, and everything after mostly gets sorted to confirm it. So the next time a first impression feels absolutely certain, remember it was built on partial information wearing a very convincing frame. And that same brain does something almost identical with something far less abstract than people: the size of your dinner plate. You open a family-size bag of chips meant for 6 people, sit down alone, and eat the whole thing in one sitting. Not because you were starving for 6 people's worth of chips, because your brain treated the whole bag as one serving, simply because it came packaged as one unit. This is unit bias. People tend to treat a portion, container, or serving size as the correct amount to consume, regardless of what the number actually is. A plate, a bag, a cup, the boundary of the container quietly becomes the boundary of enough. Restaurants and food companies have known this for decades, which is exactly why serving sizes have crept upward for years. A bigger unit doesn't just sell more, it resets what your brain treats as a normal amount to finish. The package sets the goalpost, and your appetite obligingly follows it. Split that same bag into 2 visibly smaller units, and most people stop after one, satisfied, same total food, same person, different unit boundary. Your stomach didn't decide that. The packaging did. 5 effects, 1 pattern. Your brain trusts confidence over accuracy, present you over future you, first impressions over full pictures, and the container in front of you over the actual amount inside it. None of that makes you careless. It makes you human, running on shortcuts built for a world with far less information in it. Subscribe for a new breakdown every day.